We also have some guests with us here today. I'd like to welcome the new directors of New York Creates. They are Dr. Bhagat Samakia, who we heard from earlier, Christine Chung, and Michael Abbott. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Todd Larson, who's the Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor of the SUNY system, and he is the Chancellor's designee to the New York Creates Board. At this time, I would ask if any of the directors has any potential conflict of interest with respect to the items on today's agenda. And if so, if you would please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time, and then recuse yourself from any discussion and vote with regard to that item when we come to it on the agenda. Hearing none, then we'll move to the first item on today's agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was held on December 4th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move.
Thank you, Ken. Second. Thank you, Franklin. Are there any corrections to the minutes or any additions to the minutes? Hearing none, I would ask for approval of the minutes from the December 4th meeting. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. The minutes are approved. We will now move on to the Finance Committee report. The first item from the Finance Committee today is resolution number 187. It's an amendment to the procurement guidelines policy of FSMC. I would ask for a motion to approve resolution number 187.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. So, Fort Schuyler Management Corporation approved resolution number 147, adopting a procurement guidelines policy back on February 22nd of 2017, and then approved resolution number 163, amending that policy on July 17th of 2017. The amendment allowed the purchase of goods and services through use of centralized contracts held by the New York State Office of General Services and deleted an unnecessary item in the standard form of procurement contracts. FSMC now seeks to amend its policy to provide that FSMC obtain review by the Office of the New York State Comptroller, OSC, of all contracts for construction and contracts for construction-related services of a value of $1 million or greater that are paid with New York State funds. On August 15, 2019, SUNY entered into a memorandum of understanding with OSC, which requires SUNY to work with the Research Foundation for the State of New York to grant such pre-audit review authority, and recently the Research Foundation adopted a similar provision. So in the spirit of cooperation and further transparency, Fort Schuyler Management Corporation is willing to adopt this provision as well. The amendment also clarifies the definition of construction to include both construction and construction-related services that consist of craft labor and other services utilizing laborers and/or mechanics not otherwise considered non-personal services engaged in the building of or the permanent alteration to real property. The Finance Committee met and discussed this resolution and approved resolution number 187, amending the policy as stated above, and recommends that the board approve that same action today. So the requested action is that we approve resolution number 187, amending the procurement guidelines policy. At this time, I would ask if there are any questions or any comments that my fellow directors would like to make. Hearing none, we'll have a vote on the motion to approve resolution number 187 as stated above. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. Resolution number 187 is adopted. We now move to resolution number 188, and that is the New York Creates Organizational Matters Resolution. I would ask for a motion to approve resolution number 188.
So moved.
Thank you, Franklin. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. So by way of background, on May 5th, 2018, the State of New York, the State University of New York, and Empire State Development announced the creation of the New York Center for Research, Economic Advancement, Technology, Engineering, and Science Corporation, known as and doing business as New York Creates, to serve as a resource for public-private academic research within New York State and SUNY to create and lead industry-connected research, economic development, and commercialization that attracts investment and creates high-tech jobs. This afternoon, New York Creates held its organizational meeting, approving and accepting the Certificate of Incorporation of New York Creates as filed with the Department of State on May 8, 2018. approving and accepting the New York Creates bylaws as adopted by the initial directors, appointing officers of New York Creates, establishing audit and finance committees, and adopting various policies and guidelines for its governance. Additionally, New York Creates approved assuming control of FRMC and FSMC by accepting membership in FRMC and FSMC, whereby New York Creates will become the sole member of those two corporations, replacing the existing members of each, the RF and the SUNY Poly Foundation, and approving the amendment and restatement of Fuller Road Management Corporation and Fort Schuyler Management Corporation's bylaws to allow each director of New York Creates to be deemed to have been appointed a director of FRMC and FSMC by virtue of being a director of New York Creates, the officers of New York Creates to serve ex officio as the officers of FRMC and FSMC in the same office that such individuals hold within New York Creates, each director of New York Creates serving on a committee of New York Creates to be deemed to have been appointed as a member of the corresponding committee of FRMC and FSMC, and all ex officio non-voting advisory representatives to the New York Creates Board to be deemed to be also ex officio non-voting advisory representatives to the boards of FRMC and FSMC. So the proposal has two elements: to amend Fort Schuyler Management Corporation's Certificate of Incorporation to replace its existing members, RF and SPF, with New York Creates, whereby New York Creates will be the sole member of FSMC, and to amend and restate FSMC's bylaws to allow individuals serving as New York Creates directors, officers, advisory representatives, and committee members to serve ex officio as the directors, officers, advisory representatives, and committee members of FSMC. So our requested action today is the adoption of resolution number 188, approving the certificate of amendment to the certificate of incorporation of Fort Schuyler Management Corporation, and approving the amended, restated bylaws of FSMC, and authorizing the president, the chief financial officer, and the treasurer, each of them without the other, to execute, acknowledge, and deliver any documents as such officer may deem necessary or appropriate to effectuate the purposes and intents of the foregoing resolution. This time I will pause and ask if there are any questions or if anyone has any comments to make. Hearing none, we will vote on the motion to approve resolution number 188. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Great. The resolution number 188 is adopted. I would like to pause at this time and take the opportunity to recognize and express our gratitude to a couple of individuals who are departing as board members. They are Robert Sampson and Robert Gear. Both of these individuals have made contributions to the work of this corporation and dedicated a lot of time in furtherance of the corporation, and so we would like to express our deepest thanks for their service. And also especially to Bob Sampson, who served as our distinguished chair of the board of directors for the last couple of years. So we will miss them both and appreciate the insights and the time that they devoted to the corporation. At this time, I'll ask our directors if there is any new business they would like to bring forth. And I'd like to yield the floor at this time to Kevin Eunice, the Chief Operating Officer of ESD. Kevin?
Thanks, Kristen. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the folks who've been involved in this process. You sit in a board meeting and you see documents that are 5 pages, but as you all know, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of hours that go on behind the scenes. I guess to start with, I would like to thank the governor really for turning to ESD 3 years ago and asking us to take a greater role and to continue to place his trust in ESD and the team that we have here to continue moving this mission forward. I think we've done a great job in righting the ship. We've continued to make significant investments in this portfolio, and so I want to thank the governor for continuing to give that trust to us and to this team. I want to thank Eric Gertler, our president and CEO, Howard Zemsky, our chairman, Chancellor Johnson, for their support, and for their trust, without which we wouldn't been able to do any of the things that we have done in the last 3 years. So it's really want to thank them. I want to thank my colleagues at ESD. Literally, when the governor turned to us and said, "Please, take a more active role," our entire organization pivoted to help out, and that was everybody in our legal department, that was everybody in our finance department, and so I want to thank the ESD team broadly for their work, but I do want to specifically thank a few folks on the team. Elaine Kloss, our CFO, who's been really instrumental in helping with the refinancing and part of that work with all the other team members. Kevin Hansen, I think all of you know, has just been a workhorse and kept us all moving forward and on task. Craig Alfred, legal, Kristen DeVoe in our press team, Steve Golick also really in helping moving projects forward and keeping us all moving forward. I want to, if not inappropriate, I want to also thank the folks here at the New York Creates team, who, again, thousands and thousands of hours have been behind the scenes in all this. So Pat Buckland, Trish Craig, Paul Kelly, Tim Taylor, Scott Bateman, Lamar Hill, thank you. You've all been wonderful. This is a team effort. So, to our colleagues at the Research Foundation, thank you, Chris Ashley, Emily, the support that the Research Foundation, Heather Age, thank you. This has been a lot of work, and thank you for all of you for your support and your work. Here at SUNY, I want to really say thank you to Dr. Wong for her efforts and her support and the work she has allowed Mike to do and the rest of the team to engage in here. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dr. Wong. Mark Lemire, who's not here, who's been really helpful in our council, in the council legal work. I want to thank Bob Megna, Eileen McLaughlin, and Steve Ferentz. This all requires communication as well. So I'm sure there are folks I'm forgetting, but really it's important to say thanks. This has been a lot of work. It's been a lot of good work, but it's been a lot of work, and it's not been easy all the time. So thank you, everybody, and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I'd like to echo Kevin's comments. I mean, this has truly been a team effort, and we're very fortunate that over the last couple of years, our team in many ways has expanded to be all of the players and participants who Kevin outlined, from the governor and his leadership and his continuing vision, which I think shows in the establishment of New York Creates, which we've brought to fruition here today. Chancellor Johnson and her continuing and unabiding commitment, certainly the leadership of ESD from the top levels all the way down through various levels of staff who have just provided amazing support and technical assistance as things have progressed here with the two corporations. Our fellow directors here, those who are staying on and those who are departing, have made wonderful contributions and had some fabulous insights as well. And certainly the staff of the corporations and the support of the Research Foundation as well. So it truly has been a team effort to bring things to where they are today. And that team obviously will continue to do great things in the coming year and years ahead. So I think it's a very exciting time for this institution and its corporations. And there will be a lot of good things to come. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I would ask if there are any members of the public who would like to comment, and if so, if you would please introduce yourself and limit your comments to 2 minutes.
I didn't mean to leave out Doug Gross, by the way, but he's right here. It's a very thankful job.
We're very fortunate to have Doug as well. At this point, we do not have a meeting date for the next meeting. We will keep all of you posted on that, and I would